Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Out to Be podcast. My guest today is Wendy Parr. She is a holistic artist coach. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what artist development really means in 2025. So before we dive into the juicy stuff, Wendy, do you want to just take a second and tell us a little bit about what you do and how you started as a coach?
Absolutely. Started working professionally as an artist when I was 8 years old. I was doing voiceovers and commercials, performing musical theater, corporate. I missed the first day of 8th grade because I was working. And I remember that because I remember the principal saying, "You can't miss school." And I was like, I was working. I was playing Annie.
Hardcore.
Well, it's also like, I mean, what are we going to school for? Obviously, many things like community and growth and emotional intelligence. But ultimately, like, we're learning skills and a trade or something we want to go do in life. And I was doing it. So I was like, what are you talking about? I'm doing the thing. So so I started working when I was 8. I have always known that I'm here to use my voice. I love storytelling. I love singing and music. That was just a given from age 3. And I was pursuing my own career. I was songwriting. And at about 1920, I started coaching first at NYU. I was in the acting program, and my fellow actors, Michael Black, who's a comedian, and other people were like, "Hey, I have an audition. Could you help me like prepare singing?" And Michael was doing a thing with his comedy troupe. He's like, "Hey, could you help us do some music? We want to do this harmony thing." So I was already like just casually starting something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a voice teacher who was very famous, and he invited me to teach when I was 20. I moved back to LA, was working, went on tour, and did some stuff. And I said, I don't know how to teach singing. He's like, sure you do. I helped you. You can help other singers. Do that while you're working on your career. And it's a good, career and job as opposed to, something that's something you can really give back to other people. And like I said, my first thought was, I don't know how to do this. And then I started and was like, oh, I love this. I just discovered pretty quickly, like, I put more energy into coaching and like getting myself on a tour. I really love empowering people. Being an artist and a coach as an artist, I found I had a unique communication with the artist, right? Like, I've been through what you go through. I'm with you on this. I get what you're going through. I really taught it differently than I learned it because my experiences of coaching, my experience as an artist led me to be the coach I am, which was I got to a place where I hated singing. I hated music. I didn't like the sound of my own voice. And I was like, well, what went wrong? How is this thing I love the most now? Like, why do I not like this? What's going wrong? And I had to unravel that and find out and discover, oh, singing has become a right way to sing. Singing has become a performance. Music has become like being good, being perfect. And I had to get back to like just my love of music and like, how do I sing? How do I want to express myself? Like, and let go of a lot of the ideas that I've been told, right, or been taught. So that led me to be the coach that I am. I started coaching when I was about 20 years old, like officially, and I spent 12 years training voice teachers around the world, and in an effort to help other people coach in a way that like, this is a technique that works. This is let me teach it in a way that is useful and will help to like create the joy for people and hold that joy for people as they become professionals or as they are professionals. And then just slowly but surely over time, just me as a person, I'm very into like just growing and evolving as a person. I'm very into, um, I I still, as a parent right now, like right now with my 3-year-olds, I find I'm struggling with some tools where I'm like, oh, I get emotionally deregulated. I need some tools for this, right? Like, I want to be a better parent. And being that person is why I coach the way I coach, where I'm like, I want to give my artists tools that interviews are fun and not stressful, that tour can be fun and not lose why you started this, right? And especially as you are more and more successful, the pressure to be, I'll use the word perfect, the pressure to be something other than just why you made music. We got to keep that core element. We've got to keep that. This is why I make music, and this is the impact I want to have on my audience, and that needs to be at the fore of every decision I make.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much juicy stuff in what you said just there. And first of all, we have very similar stories. I also went to NYU.
Oh,
I'm assuming you were in Tisch.
Tish, yeah,
Yeah, I
Circle the
was in
Square.
I was in Steinhardt, so we were like the like underfunded like kids without the Tisch fancy stuff.
Right.
But
But Steinhardt was like also more eclectic and like unique, right?
um I don't know. When I went, that's how I perceived Tish to be.
Oh, okay.
Interesting enough, but and Steinhardt, like I was music business, but we had like music education and like tech and stuff like that. So to me, it felt a little more buttoned up. But in any
Oh,
case,
gotcha.
NYU as a whole, love.
Yeah.
I think what is so powerful is this idea of constantly growing and having the tools to do it. And it's not something that anyone teaches you. I mean, being a musician or choosing to pursue the career of being a musician or being in the music industry is, I find in many ways, a self-taught art. Sure, you can have mentors and peers and things like that, but it's not like you can just, and even me, I'm like, I went to school for music business. Even that, a lot of my education came from experience and doing
Real
it
world. Real
and just
world.
learning.
I do
So,
think though, I do think though that like any other business and any other athlete, like Michael Jordan has 5 coaches and a room of coaches behind him and
yeah,
has had for his entire career. Like greatest, one of the greatest basketball players of all time has many coaches. Singers or athletes, you need coaches.
yeah,
Business people have mentors and business coaches because in many ways we're not reinventing the wheel, right? Think outside the box. I'll put that in quotes. Um, which is all about like finding out how you want to do things. If you are an
yeah,
innovator, if you inject your personality into what you do, if you bring your vision, you're going to innovate. But I also think that mentorship and community and getting support from those around you can make the world of difference
yeah.
because without it, you're going to waste a lot of time. You and
100%.
so but I completely agree. Like life experience, especially in an industry that's constantly changing, you need to be in it, right? Like I started coaching at age 20. I had apprenticed with my coach. I had already been performing 3, 5 times a week since the age of 15. I had a ton of life experience. Like without that, but on average, it takes 7 to 10 years to find your voice as an artist.
Yeah.
That's an average. All your best new artists, 7 to 10 years, because it takes that long to move from your influences to more of your own voice, to start to listen and trust, to get experiences, to be on the mic so many times and find, oh, this is the way I like this. I like my voice like this in a recording. I'm learning to sing live, and this is how I can connect with my audience. Um, but I also want to shave that time down for people by not having them get off track in the way that all of us have gotten off track, which is by influences and outside voices telling you what you should be, how you can be marketed. This is how we could sell you. Cheap, lazy marketing, just,
Hmm.
dress scandalous. You'll get a lot of followers. Those aren't fans. And
Yeah.
that's not a music career. Again, so many times an artist gets signed to a label, spends 2 to 4 years with that label. Maybe they perform, maybe they don't. I have one artist who performed twice in 2 years with the label. They're often then again, here's how we're going to market you. This is what we're going to do. They get direction plus their own voice, right? If they're lucky, more of their own voice. And then with dissatisfaction of what's going on and not feeling like this is me, they either leave or they get dropped by the label. And
Hmm.
then they spend another 2 to 4 years saying, okay, now no one's telling me what to do. What do I want?
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that process because that's just maturity of life as well. That's like going from adolescent to adulthood. Like it's a normal process. But what if we could shrink that time so that when someone is telling you, hey, this is what you should be doing, or this is what we think, you already have a really strong core of this is who I am. So when they come and say, hey, here's how we could market you, this is what we think, they're like, let's look at me first and then get your ideas from my brand Bible. Get your ideas from my brand deck. Get your ideas from me telling you this is who I am. This is how I want to impact my audience. Let me show you visuals. Let me share my sound with you. Let me share my mission statement with you. And then everything is going to go, you know, it's going to elevate so much more. The
Hmm.
artist is going to feel truth to it, confident to it. Yes, the choices are going to be like, yes, I love that. Yes, I love that. Oh, no, I don't love that, but I know how we could tweak it, instead of the artist feeling like, okay, yeah, does sound like a good idea. And then you make the music video and they go, oh, I don't want to put it out. It was good on paper, but I don't like the finished product. It's not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And that's why I love your approach to coaching so much because it really does deal with all of these facets. It's not just about the strategy of what you need to do, it's also about knowing yourself and having those tools, like you said earlier. So with
More of what I do is the knowing yourself. And
yeah,
then I have a database and I have a whole community of people that help you with the strategy and the fan base growth. That's the business side of artist development.
right. Yeah.
Before you do the business side, before you do the marketing, you have to know, what are we marketing?
Yeah.
What am I about? How do I want to impact my audience? How do I want to perform on stage? What's my sound? Like what is my sound truly? Where's the magic in my sound? Where's the secret sauce in my sound that even artists don't usually know it? And when I take them through sound chart, the results are hilarious. I'm not hilarious. They're amazing because they're one artist the other day in Compass right now, in my Compass 6 month program was like, I'm doing sound chart and I can't believe how obvious what I'm seeing is. And I never saw it before.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not telling them what their music is. I'm helping them discover it from themselves. Like, oh, this is what I love. And oh my gosh, one artist was like, I thought my music was super eclectic, but actually, what I like in all the music are these things. This is what needs to be in my music.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Another artist who's a very 80s artist, I'm putting that in quotes again, actually discovered, no, the music I love is not 80s. There's like nothing from the 80s. And they core of their music, their visual is a little bit more in that realm.
Yeah.
The core of their music was like this, and then combined, totally unique recipe for music. Like
Yeah.
that's gonna be your sound. No one else has that.
Yeah. So to zoom out for a second, I
Please.
find that artist development as a term can kind of be polarizing in that it's changed a lot in the last few decades. Like it used to sort of mean or imply, oh, someone from a label is going to find you in a bar and take you on and develop you into this great thing. But
Not
now it's not like that. And it really more so means artists need to develop themselves to
completely.
get traction. But with that being said,
Which is in many ways like great and horrible.
exactly. And I think that now in 2025 we're at a place of acceptance of that, but I know for a while there was a lot of frustration. I mean, still sometimes in my TikTok comments there seems to be frustration about it. And I get it because musicians often feel like they have to do everything. So this
You
is
do.
sort of a two-parted question, which is number one, for a musician who's trying to get on a clear path, how would you break that down? How do we get started with clarity? And then number two, just kind of going off what you just said, I think a lot of people might feel this pressure to mimic what they see already working
Totally.
because it's already working. Let me get the viral TikTok. Let me copy this person's sound or just, kind of sound alike, or let me try to have a look that looks this way because I don't know, Chapel Roan, let me dress like her because she's popping off. But if that's not authentic to you, it doesn't work. So the question there is, how do we hone in on like who we really are, and should we be mimicking or should we be abandoning that completely?
I would abandon mimicking. I would say learn from what works. Like again, like
Yeah.
what did the artist that I love the most or the artist that is most like me do? And can I follow their path? Can I play all the venues they played? Can I make some of the career or strategy choices that they can I see what they did and then do my version of that? Because that's really smart. We all start by mimicking. Like we literally walk because we see our parents walk and then we get up and we walk. And if you've ever seen, I remember seeing my little cousin walking behind my big cousin, and she as a baby like walked just like him. And I was like, yeah, it's like
Oh.
duck and mommy duck. So we learn by mimicking, but then over time and through experience and trying different things, we let go of our influences and they just become like part of the inspiration under everything. But it's you finding your like, how do I do this song? How do I want to mess this up? So I think that there's such a process of like it is so much about finding like your imagination. Like what do I envision myself on stage? How do I envision my own self on stage? What does that feel like? What does that look like? Let me try it boldly, including like I'm a total introvert. I want to see it, or a wig and you didn't even see her. I don't want people to see my face. I want to dance her.
Hmm.
Great. Like you're introverted goes into one of my artists performed in silhouette. Like the room was really dark. The stage was dark. There was a screen behind them. They set up the whole stage like a living room. There's lamps and all kinds of stuff, but it wasn't like shining on her face. It was about the music and her singing, and
That's
there was a
really
whole
cool.
ambiance and vibe. Yeah, but
Super
she was
unique.
super unique. And she's like, I don't need everyone to stare at me. Like,
But a lot of people, I think, oh, I can't do that. Or, oh, it only works when X, Y, when Sia does it, the one
right,
person that I can pull from the mainstream. But
right.
I love this
No,
example because you can literally do whatever you want as
and
long
then
as it's authentic.
you got to find out, does it land? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got this wild idea. Let me try it. Is it landing? Is the audience responding to it? Like, are people digging it? Is it getting across the message I want to get across? And if it is, then keep doing it. And if it isn't, then you tweak it, which we do anyway. Like we always tweak. Um, so I think it's first is that is like is going inside and like finding like what in my wildest dreams do I want to do? Like what do I want to do musically? Like so and if we look at our influences, go look at your influences, your musical influences, and ask yourself, like, what do I actually love about them? Like, what are six adjectives about each artist or the band or the music? Like, what are six adjectives to describe them? Because that's what you love about them. So now go be those things.
Mm-hmm.
Go be ones that are like, that's me, that's me, that's me. I need to lean into those elements of myself. Go watch their stage performance. Be like, what do I love about this? Okay, I want to do more of that. If it's running around stage or if it's like I want to play an instrument and whatever it is, like, oh, the thing that I admire is the thing I just got to bring out in myself. So we have to get clear about what you actually like about them.
Yeah.
Um, and then playing with music, like I have so Navigator is a taste of my compass course. It gives you a few of these questions of like starting to learn about yourself. Like, who am I? I'm a coach. Everything I do, like if someone showed me how to fix a car today, I'd show someone tomorrow. It's just who I am. Like I share information, I pass it along. I want to empower people. So knowing that, if you go to my Instagram or you sign up for my mailing list, you get my blogs, you're going to get a lot of coaching, a lot of creative tips, a lot of empowering things, a lot of stories to inspire you,
Mm-hmm.
because that's who I am. And so what I share publicly is that I share that quality of myself. I share the empowering, I share the coaching of me. And then I share, bits of my life and I share stories because I've been told that they're really inspiring. And my first thought is, oh, but that's about me. That's very like ego based. And everyone's like, no, no, it's super inspiring to hear you tell that story. It makes me feel I can do it. I'm like, oh, I got to tell more stories,
Yeah.
right? That needs to be a part of my content, a part of my sharing is,
Yeah.
oh, tell your own music stories, tell your own life stories, your creative stories. That's really important part of the fabric. Okay, that's part of my recipe now.
Yeah.
And I needed to hear that from my audience who was like, because my perspective was that was ego based. It's about
Mm-hmm.
me. Like, no, no, no. It's so impactful. Oh, okay. That's impactful. Let's bring it. So finding out more and more about yourself. Like, who am I? Here's a simple thing. Go look in your house and go look in your closet. What's in your closet? Like, if you describe the kind of style you have, is it sporty? Is it hip hop? Is it, what is it? It's in your closet. Now you go, oh, that's totally how I love to dress. Or actually, I tend to dress not how I love. That's what I love. Great. Show up in the thing you love the most now, right?
Yeah.
I have a formula for dressing, and it took me time to discover what it was. My formula, and I can tell you because it doesn't spoil how you see me. It's not like, oh, now you're gonna know. No,
The
just
secret's out. Like,
I'm not gonna spoil it. Some
yeah.
some artistic secrets you keep, but like it's your source material. You don't tell anybody. But
Yeah.
other ones are gonna be out there obtuse, out there subtle, out there. So my formula is monochromatic with mixed patterns. And I remember seeing once like, oh, I love when people dress monochromatic, but something's not it's not quite it for me. And I didn't know what that was, but I remember thinking that exact thought. I really love monochromatic, but something about it I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the process of doing graphic work and logo work and other artistic work outside of fashion, actually, I discovered, oh, patterns and textures.
Mm.
Mix patterns. I layer them. I put my rugs. I layer my rugs on top of each other. I don't like it's not like solo, like three rugs slightly piled up together or overlapping a little. And a graphic designer said, "Oh, you love texture." And my hairdresser was like, "You love texture." And I was like, "Oh, you're good." She's like, "Yeah, I see who you are. I gotta put that." But it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, like texture, pattern. Like I'll tell them when they cut my hair, I'll be like, I like to feel a little bit like the Nutty Professor. Like it needs to be free and wild. It needs to be
Yeah. Yeah.
free is a big part of me. Free is what I want to help artists with. So free needs to be, I don't worry about, I mean, would I like my product like right now, look, I've got the sun on the side. This is not perfect lighting.
Yeah.
If I gave myself 10 more minutes, I'm horrible with time management. If I gave myself 10 more minutes to find the perfect spot, I could have. But
Yeah.
I'm also like, you know what mattered to me was being outside today, sharing. Like I'm in LA right now. I'm like, wanted to be outside with you. I'm not in my own studio because I'm not at home. So I don't have music things behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, what's more important is the being outdoors in nature, sharing that with the audience right now, being in the sunshine. Like this matters more to me than like, oh, let me get the music vibe behind me. And, you
Yeah.
know, so knowing that like freedom matters, pattern, texture, this is movement. So that needs to be in everything I do. So for me, the clothing is if it's a blue day, I'm wearing shades of blue with multiple patterns. I'll wear a jacket with like a pattern on it and maybe a shirt with a different pattern on it and then the pants and then I'll throw in like a yellow sock to give a splash of another color. And so I know that's my formula. Super easy to get dressed.
Yeah.
And it's always variety. I wear hats. So I've got a small hat collection. I'm like, which one am I wearing today? And if I showed that to a stylist, if I said, hey, monochromatic, mixed patterns, here's a bunch of outfits that I wear, here's a bunch of clothes that I love, they'd be like, oh, I got you. Done. And then they would show up with a rack of things that were like, I love it, done. Like,
Yeah.
because I know how to communicate that, right?
And I
So
love the little tip you sort of within there, which is that as you were figuring this out, you asked other people or other people shared their impressions of you, which helped you to clarify that. Because sometimes it is hard to see, like when you're working on your own music or you're staring at your own closet, it can be hard to see objectively what the trends are. Even if the trends aren't what you want, but if you ask friends, if you ask your hairstylist like you did, if you ask I don't know, just other people around you, they might have a slightly more or slightly less biased, I should say, like view of it and slightly more objective tips to be able to give.
spot on. We need self-reflection, but we actually really learn about ourselves through the eyes of other people.
Yeah.
Like we learn the most in relationship. And this is where community and connection is so important,
And
that
coaching.
coaching and mentorship where when so that the people you're talking to actually have the experience to give you quality feedback, that have the I've been in the music business 20 years, but also people that champion you and that aren't, like you don't play your music for your parents
Yeah.
because that's not who's going to give you the most accurate feedback unless they're like A skilled, B honest, but again that tends to be more for validation and approval than actual valid feedback,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yes, go look in your closet. You have a friend who's great at fashion, have them look with you. That adjective list I said, make the list of all your adjectives you love about your favorite 5 artists, and then ask your friends if you were to give me 3 to 5 adjectives that would describe me, and if you were to make a dating profile, what would you say about me? And get your friends to tell you about you, like people that you trust, people who love you, people that will tell you, and then you're going to be like, oh my god, that's what you'd say about me. That's amazing. I got to lean into that more. Like,
Yeah.
can I bring that side out of me?
Yeah.
If you look in your closet and you're like, oh gosh, I have this. I mean, I could tell you I have a certain like turquoise blue and a certain raspberry that shows up, and I'm like, yeah, I got that 10 years ago, and I got that one last week. It's the same color. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
those colors, right?
I have the
So
same. Yeah.
you find your color and you're like, those are my colors. Like, I love those. Okay, let's do more of it. Let's.
Yeah.
And what you find is that it's the inspiration from you that becomes like you creating everything that you love. You're like, oh, I love my wardrobe now. Oh, I love my logo now. Oh, I'm making merch that like is really, those are my symbols. That's my thing. And you have
Yeah.
to find the thing.
I love that it gets to be easy because I think it's people want to overcomplicate it of like I need my brand colors and my font and my unique essence, but you already are someone, you already exist as someone who has preferences and tendencies
Yeah.
and likes things and has
You,
certain hobbies.
you have to
So
find them, but you have to find them because you
yeah,
do need to find your fonts. But again, it's like I have a process. Like, how do you find them? You do
yeah,
need to
exactly.
find your color, but it's not about an external idea of the color. Like I said, go look in your closet, go look
Yeah.
around your house. I had an artist who we were talking about this about colors and such, and he's like, there's an artist I really like who does everything like black and white, and I really like it. I think I want to do that. And I asked them, so what do you dress black and white or like in general? And he's like, no, I'm pretty colorful. And what color's your house? He's like, blue green. I'm like, so you like and admire it in someone else, but it's not how you live. maybe you do one video like that, but it's not your vibe. And then this is someone in Compass. Then he was doing the Compass work and he came to finding like his core archetype, his core, this is my story. This is, and I'll use the word astronaut. That wasn't his thing, because I'm not going to tell you his thing. But let's say he was like, I'm an astronaut
Yeah.
and I'm going through space. And this is where like I'm taking my whole audience with me through a journey on space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when he found that, I said to him about his theme, I was like, do you recognize that the core colors of that theme are blue and green? And he was like, totally. That's the colors in his house. And I was like, that's your theme. And so then we got more and more specific and more detailed. And it's
Yeah.
not just one thing, it's layering all these things about you. It's finding your recipe for music, which is going to have bits from all different genres to make your own sound. It's
Yeah.
layering the wacky side of you with the dark side of you with the this side of you. Like, oh, that's the me I want to bring out. I want to
Yeah.
bring out this edge and that and da da da. And it's weaving them to create just layers that become so interesting.
Now, taking my coach hat off and putting my artist hat on, something that you just said about colors really speaks to me in terms of finding your sound, because I really admire, like in present day, Chapel Roan, Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter, even art like Ariana Grande's latest album. Those are the albums I find myself going back to. That's like pop, the
Yeah.
girlies, like
Yeah.
straight and however, I don't really write music like that. I don't
No.
really have a desire to dress up in leotards and dance. Like Lady Gaga, she's like my OG. But like I don't really feel like that's the type of performer I am. But sometimes that can feel like I'm in conflict because I love these artists so much. I feel like I want to create music that gives people the same feeling that they give me,
Right.
except for I don't know that that's really my vibe. So how, whether it's me in this opinion or just the people that you tend to work with, like how do we rectify this? Where do
Yeah.
we go from here? And what tips do you have for people to help them really hone in on their sound?
I love that. So we should do sound chart. Sound chart is part of Compass. It's also its own course on my website. Like you can just take sound chart, and sound chart is a 3-step process to look at the music you love and start to understand what you actually love about the music you love, and then distill it into a recipe on paper. And you're like, these are all the ingredients for my music. Now let's go in the studio and see how we bring it to life. Because dark and edgy, okay, is that the cello? Is that the strings? Is that a synthesizer? Like, what's giving us that quality?
Mm,
Where like, so you have to bring it to life and explore it in the studio. That's where, and then what, this ingredient, is this the olive oil that goes everywhere, or is this the cinnamon in 2 songs?
yeah,
So it's
that's
once
juicy.
it's on paper, it's like, okay, now let me go play.
Yeah, because even you saying that, I'm like, okay, I also love ABBA. And I'm thinking, why do I love ABBA? Is it the disco or is it the harmonies? And I'm like, it's the harmonies. Because I
There
like
you go.
also like First Aid Kit, Time, like I love them. And I'm like, it's the harmonies. It's not
Harmony.
necessarily the disco, even though I
There
do
you
love
go.
them.
There you go. So
But
you're like, okay, harmonies play a big part.
yeah.
When I did my first sound chart and I was listening to it a lot, I was like, oh, there are 3 songs on this that are actually just the same song. They represent the same color, the same vibe. So I need to have a song like this on my album. And it was really, really sparse arrangement, a haunting vocal out front,
Hmm.
piano, and I did it with uh soft drums, like brush drums, piano, sitar, and the vocal. And I was like, oh, these 3 songs really just have the same quality. I have to have one song on my album like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing that surprised me was I'm a hip hop girl. Like I grew up with Southern California hip hop, Tupac, Love Love. And when I made my sound chart, there was really no hip hop. There were two Tupac songs, and they were both samples. One was a Bruce Hornsby sample, so it was a piano based song, and I can't remember the other one right now. But what was all over my sound chart was gospel. I'm like,
Interesting.
oh, the root of the hip hop is actually the gospel, and it's the call and response, it's the backbeat, it's emphasis on the upbeat, particularly the call and response. It's the uplifting feeling, like lift. I actually have a playlist called Lift Me Up. I'm like, oh, put that on, and like I'm gonna feel good. And there's definitely a lot of gospel in there. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, so it's the uplifting, the speaking of the divine, whether it might be disguised as a love song between two people, but it's actually like bigger than that, and call and response. And so for me, the call and response comes either, it could be in a vocal, or it could be like an underlying background vocal under the hook of the song, or it's the melody and then the instrument answering. So it's like, oh yeah, call and response is like everywhere in what I do. I love that. So that's the process. It's because it's not about the genre. It's actually about finding the ingredients that you love.
Yeah. This is so eye-opening for me, and I'm sure for all of my listeners too, because I don't know, as a lover of music and just as a musician who likes to dabble in a lot of things,
Right.
it can be hard sometimes. Now, that being said, a quick side question for you is how do you typically advise when people maybe still do like to write in multiple genres? In that
Mm.
kind of circumstance, like, do we build that all into an artistry, or is it here's your artistry and then, hey, maybe you're shopping songs to other people that don't fit within that?
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. I think I think you either find like, because I'm a songwriter and I write with artists for artists, but performing, which I'm not striving to perform and be a performing artist anymore. But as an artist, like I would write a lot of songs and be like, these I sing, these are for other people. Like
Yeah.
I'm a songwriter. And so I think similarly, if you're a songwriter, some of those songs are going to be for other people. Some might not even be songs. They just may have been you needing to write that, and it's not, you're not doing anything.
Yes.
And others might be, this is really cool. How do I make this? Like the message is mine. How do I make this musically mine if I want it to be my song? What am I doing it to it? And
Yeah.
I think that playing with keys and playing with tempos, and one really fun thing to do is to grab like a track off of BeatStars, or just BeatStars, for example. If you said, okay, this is the genre of music, I'm going to put in an artist name that does music that I like, that would be similar to what I'm doing, and find a track and then sing the song you wrote to a really different kind of track, or take a cover song. You're like, I want to make this cover song my own. What can I do with it? Go find a beat that's so different from that, a different tempo, a different groove. And then how do you now take that melody and that song and do it on that groove? You're going to find, oh, this is how I style this song. So
Yeah.
imagine, I don't know, I would say girls just want to have, I don't know, give me a song. What's a song? Um,
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 Rocket Man, Elton John.
or Rocket Man, or a Chapel Roan song that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, again, the whole point is sing the song and then mess it up as well. But, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't, I mean, everyone does covers of the exact moment, but also find covers that are like, you're a solo artist, find a band song, find
Mm,
something that's not in your genre, so that when
yeah.
you do it, it's like, oh, it's so different, like clearly. But Rocket Man, let's say, so Rocket Man is like, Rocket Man burning up the fuel out there alone. And we're gonna mess up a brilliant song, right? I don't remember all the words. And then if you like, here's that tempo. If you put that to a faster tempo, it's like, Rocket Man burning up the fuel out there alone. Whoa, Rocket Man, burning up the fuel out there alone. Like, well, okay, I'm going to extend that one and then make the other one move faster. And
Yeah.
I don't even have a groove that I'm playing with it.
Yeah.
And you can be picking a different, or if that mid tempo is like Rocket Man, burning up the fuel. What does it feel like if it's slower? Rocket Man, burning up the fuel out there alone. I'm sitting in no one is coming home. And I think now I'm changing the song.
Yeah.
So it makes it, if you play an instrument, do that on your instrument. You can
Right.
change the groove, but if you don't, or even you want to just get out of like, okay, I'm not going to go to what I would normally go to. Let me pull up a track and just mess with the song off of something. You have to change the phrasing, because
Yeah.
that groove is going to help you change the phrasing.
Yeah.
And that's a fun way to find out, like, well, how do I want to do this song? What would I do to mess it up?
Yeah. I love how many tangible exercise you've given us just in this episode. And I know
Awesome.
that there are so much more inside of your program, Compass. But before we get to Compass, which we will in 1 second, I want to ask one more quick question, which
Please.
is what are the tools that you use to continue with like your personal growth and support? Because as we said at the beginning of this episode, a lot of the work in order to become the artist you want to do, it's inner work. It's knowing who you are. And I find that a lot of that too being both a business owner and a musician, sometimes just shit hits the fan and or it's really stressful or you don't know what's happening. And so whether it's, that or as you were saying at the beginning with your kids, like sometimes you just need to pull some tools out to stay sane and to stay grounded
Totally.
and to find balance.
Totally.
What are like 2 or 3 tools that you have in your toolkit that you always go to?
For like coping and feeling like with overwhelm and stuff like
Yeah.
that? It's a good question. So the first thing is you said the word I don't know when you're like, oh, I'm in a place I don't know, right? So that's when reaching out to find information is really valuable. Like whether that's Googling or asking a friend, being like, there's clearly like a way to do this, or there's a solution here that I'm not aware of. Can I just bounce some ideas with you? And that's where talking to people and or going to a songwriting group or a camp, like something like that's going to be so useful, right?
Yeah.
So because a lot of our frustration is being in the I don't know, like I don't have a solution. So connecting with people where you could find solutions and learn more is really important. And part of Compass is like part of the work is going inside, and then part of the work is taking it out into action. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing is like, are you taking action? Like I got to get on stage more because the only way I'm going to figure out my live show is by being in front of people. I need to release more songs so I can practice strategy for that and get and try lots of strategy. Like you have to put things in action. So we go in to go out. We go in to go out. It's all about your inner vision and then executing that outwardly, right?
Yeah.
And coping tools. Let's see. For me, nature's really important. So taking a walk is so important to me. Like literally just walking, like clears my mind. Literally, scientifically, things moving past your eyes like this calm your nervous system.
Oh,
Being
wow.
on your tiny phone all day jacks up your nervous system to fight or flight.
Yeah.
So you every 2 hours, we really should stand up, look into the distance, move our bodies. But taking walks, riding horses, being in the saddle is my favorite. Meditation, also just one of the most singing, like literally just sing for fun, sing for a few minutes to let out everything you're feeling because you'll feel better. Which
Yesterday
I
I did that. I was so frustrated. And I mean, I am into yoga and chakras, and I could just feel that my throat chakra was like, ugh, when you feel. So I'm like, I'm just gonna sing. I'm gonna pick up my guitar and I'm gonna badly skrelt out some songs, and it's not gonna be good, but it's gonna move the energy, and it did.
singing and dancing, like just that's the point of these two things is to shift your energy, change how you feel better, get into joy. So doing it with the awareness of like, oh, I just got to let go of what I'm feeling, let it out. I think for me also just talking, like having a couple good friends that I talk to that I'm like, a couple friends I'm like, can I just vent? Like I gotta like get this out of my head.
Yeah.
And then getting some like reasonable feedback is also helpful.
Yeah.
And I think we all have to find like what I know, like I said, for me, walking and then being present. So I know for me, what makes me feel super stressed out is multitasking,
Hmm.
having too many things going on at the exact same time, and then conflicted with whatever I'm doing in the moment. Like, I can't get this done because I'm trying to do these things, and I can't totally do this because I'm not being present.
Right.
So sometimes it's closing everything, closing my computer, closing the work, stopping, like, I'm going to go be with my kids for an hour, or I'm going to go take a walk and take a break and like not look at anything for a minute because I have to get. So it's about being present, right?
Yeah.
Like I get all present so I can see where I'm at and what my next steps might be.
Yeah.
So I think that can be taking a break and going to a museum. That can be taking a break and like stop trying to go in and just I'm gonna watch a music video. Like I'm gonna watch 5 music videos that just make like just jazz get me riled up and excited, or I'm gonna do something that's inspiring. And getting present. So that's why singing and dancing feel great because you're present.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's closing everything off, or it's okay, wait, I have to do one thing at a time. Let me finish this task. That felt good. Okay, now I can go to the next one. Okay, now I need a break. There's a kid on the internet. I'm sure so many people have seen him. He's like, I think he's 6. Maybe he's 9 now. But I think he's 6. And he produces music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's like, I'm doing a plug-in. Let's do a fade. Like he does all these things. Yeah, it's kind
That's
of
crazy.
wild. He's like 6 years old, and so he's producing. And then in the middle of it, he's like, okay, I need to take a break. And he goes to his playroom and plays. He jumps on things and like a
Stop.
6-year-old, he plays. And then he's ready. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go back. And I'm like, that's what we all need to
That
do.
is seriously, it's like we need to actually just live our lives like this kid because
Yes.
I think I agree with you. I think that lack of being present, and I'm fully calling myself out here. Like I'm addicted to my phone. I've spoken about it. Like I'm trying to break my phone addiction in this year because it's been so crazy. So I've started knitting to try to be more present
Uh,
because lack of presence is like destroying my mind. I know for sure.
I'll
And
give
my
you a few
creativity.
tools. I'll give you a few tools for the phone. And I'm with you. Like I'm on it way too much and it's my business and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. One is don't have it in your bedroom at night.
Yeah, I'm bad at that. I need to
And
take
it's
it out.
hard. You're like, oh, I need it.
Yeah.
Or turn it off,
Yeah.
right? Turn it off or don't have it in the bedroom. Don't look at it for the first hour you wake up.
I'm bad at that too.
Me too. I'm not saying this like do it perfectly, but these are things that definitely you can also make your computer screen black and white, your phone screen black and
I
white.
have heard that that's really
It's
helpful.
it's
It's less
less
stimulating.
attractive.
Yeah.
And then there are some apps that will help you turn off your app. So you could actually tell it to turn off some of your apps from this hour to this hour, and you're like, I don't have access. So
Yeah.
I and it helps you be less interested.
Yeah. And already, I mean, for years and years and years, I have pretty much all notifications off except some texts.
That's
But
great.
like, I find notifications to be
I
so
know.
overstimulating. All right. Well, again, so many great tools. So if you're listening now, hopefully at this point you already are ready to work with Wendy, which is great news, is that her program Compass is open for applications right now. But
Yep.
before we wrap, and we'll put the information for that in the show notes so that everyone can check all of the juicy details. But what's one thing we need to know about Compass, or who exactly is it for if people are thinking about working with you?
It's a great question. So Compass is for the working artist. It's for the professional, the emerging artist. Maybe you're successful and you're going to make your first, you're having like, I've got fans, I'm engaged, and I'm making my first album. Maybe you're making your fifth record. It's a 6-month artist development program, deep diving into yourself to then really build a whole world from your sound to your visuals to your social media content, that everything is telling the story of you, that we really get into like your source material, like this is who I am, this is what I want to say and how I want to say it. Artists have really told me that number one, it's like insanely confident building because they're like, I understand why I make the choices I make now and I'm making them with so much more ease and confidence,
Mm-hmm.
not like all over the place, or I'm not like, well, what about this or that, like, oh no, 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 I know what I want now, and it's so much more clear. And what else? So it's for the working artist. It's with me for 6 months. And we also have mentors. So we have marketing experts. We have a high performance coach. We have A&R publishers, a 5-time Grammy winning producer. We have people that rotate in as mentors, managers, publishers. And so every month there's a meeting with a mentor. It's for a small group of artists. We do this together. You're going to do a lot of it, obviously deep diving into yourself alone, but there's weekly check-ins with me. There's artists that it's online, and there's artists that will connect with each other and be like, hey, do you want to work on this chapter together? Like, I'd love to show you some stuff. Can I get your feedback? So this is all about connection. The weekly check-ins have alumni. So Compass artists who have already graduated and working on their project, they come into the weekly meetings also.
That's
So
great.
the artist just started Compass meets the artists that have already done Compass, and then also see like, oh, I see where they are. Like I'm going here with my, and so you connect to more artists, you connect to industry people. And it's a wonderful 6-month deep dive. We start March 11th is our welcome meeting, and the 19th is our first session.
Amazing. So, like I said, we'll put all of the details in the show notes so that you guys can go check it out and apply. Wendy, thank you for today. This was such a fun episode, and I'm so excited to.
Conversation, Katie.
Yeah, I can't believe I haven't had you on at all, and so I'm glad that we were finally able to do it. And I know that everyone's gonna love this. So, thanks everyone for listening, and go check out Compass now and see if it's a good fit for you.
Cheers.